This week on the podcast, we talk about what makes a video game franchise successful. We touch base with Call of Duty, Mario, Resident Evil, Bubsy, and a few other franchises along the way. At the end of the podcast, we answer our question from last one, and we give you a new one to mull over for the next 7 days.
Oh, yeah.
You're listening to the Sunovageek Podcast.
Son of a geek!
That's right. Zio, I love that it's edited in there now. It's so super sounding.
Yeah, I know. It sounds amazing. Especially because I don't have to do it perfectly every time now. You just got it perfect.
Not that you did it perfectly all the time anyway.
I totally did.
We're coming to you live from an indiscriminate location. What's the word I'm looking for, Zio?
Special?
A special location. We can't tell you where it is because Zio's in protective. He's in protective services right now.
Yeah, that's why we're not doing video, because we couldn't bring our cameras with us, but we happened to find really good mics in our hotel room.
And
so we're using that. And computers. So we're using those.
The one thing that confuses me is why, if you're in protective secret services, why are we in a hotel? Why isn't it like a normal house?
Look, Spen, I don't question the actions of our government. Why should you? We need to just blindly follow them and everything they tell me to do.
My apologies. It won't happen again. But dude, successful franchises are everywhere.
Just hopping right into it. Yeah.
Yeah,
they're
just going
all
right
over
in.
the place. All right, good.
And I think we've come down to the reason as to why they're successful. And okay, guys, I'm gonna quickly just say I really enjoyed doing this podcast because Zio was sending me messages like, Spencer, we need, like, what's going on? What's the focus? What's happening? And I'm sitting here just like, yes, Zio, that's all I'm going to tell you.
That's all I'm going to tell you.
Because I didn't want us to do one where we came to a solid, concrete conclusion. I wanted it to be one where maybe me and Zio have different opinions on it. And this isn't a podcast where we're coming to you with a definitive reason. It's what we think.
It wants to stimulate your brain.
Yes. But in a non-sensual kind of way.
A non-sensual.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I was thinking non-consensual. I'm like, interesting. This is an interesting choice. We're deciding to go.
Yeah, that's how we do things here. It's non-consensual.
We don't need your consent. We're gonna stimulate your brain anyways.
So Zio wanted me to give him a list of all of the successful franchises that I was going to be talking about. And I gave him a couple of them, but I didn't want to give him all of them because then I was like, well, then he's not going to have to do any research.
Well, that's fine, Spen, because I did no research anyways.
That's okay. That's what I was expecting. So
I just like to pretend I'm about to do something and then just not do anything.
Well, I'm going to just jump in right at that. Zio, what is a successful franchise? What makes something a successful franchise in your opinion?
Well, I think two things make a successful franchise in my opinion. One, either there's monetary success or there is a creative success.
Interesting.
Or I wouldn't say creative, but maybe more popularity success. If that makes sense?
No, that makes sense. Like success because you can have something that doesn't do very well monetary wise, where they don't make money off of it. It ends up being a bomb that way. But the people that do play it are like, this is a fantastic thing.
Yeah, like Paragon.
What?
It hurts. It hurts my heart.
See, what's tough though is even if it was a franchise, I think the biggest thing, what makes something a successful franchise is the money that it brings in. Essentially, that's really what it is, because that's what keeps it going.
Ultimately, the deciding factor, right? Like, it has to make money to be successful. I mean, the reason I say that, like, in my eyes, there's two different ones, is because you got franchises like Call of Duty, which recently has had more misses than hits in the last years, but they still pump them out every year, and people still buy them on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
And games like Assassin's Creed. Now, Assassin's Creed, I think, has made steps to, like, do better. Like, Ubisoft, I think, made smarter decisions. Instead of releasing yearly, I think they do bi-yearly now.
Yeah, that's what they talked about they were going to be doing, just to give them more time to work on stuff.
Right, and they obviously switch that route because they saw the quality of their games dropping, along with probably not selling as much money because people were getting fed up with it.
If only they noticed it as soon as we started to see it.
Yeah, I know. It always takes like these companies way longer. Like, well, people are buying them. That means they love it.
Exactly. Because that's how it works.
Yep.
See, I think those are those are a few really good examples of franchises that I don't know. I think of all of those, Assassin's Creed would be the of what we've talked about so far would be the successful franchise, just because of the amount of money that it's bringing in, how many games it's put out, and just for how long it's been around. And it's
I mean, Call of Duty's been out longer though. Why wouldn't you consider Call of Duty successful?
Well, Assassin's Creed would be the most successful out of all of those, I would say.
I'ma Google it and find out.
All right, because what sets it apart from, you know what? But that makes it tough, because I don't really care much for the Call of Duty franchise. I enjoy playing the games, the story mode of it. I don't really care too much about the online stuff. I don't spend too much time doing those kinds of things. And that's where I think what makes a franchise successful kind of falls into a gray area, because it's, I think there's a balance between how much money it makes versus how well it's kind of recognized by people. Yeah. And there's a lot of this stuff that's going to be pretty much just opinion based, because I don't think. Oh, actually, dang it. I was trying to think of some way I could make a convincing argument as to why Resident Evil wasn't a successful franchise.
Oh, yeah?
But I couldn't do it.
Before you continue, I got a comparison between Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. Now, you think Assassin's Creed is the more successful franchise, right? Is what you said?
I think so. I would consider it more successful.
Okay. How much do you think the Assassin's Creed franchise is worth?
I have no idea. Probably, by the sounds of it, less than Call of Duty.
I'm just take a guess. Take a gander of a guess.
I've never looked into that kind of stuff before. Like $19 billion.
No, it's 300 million. Okay, is how much the Assassin's Creed. Yeah, you were so close. Is how much the Assassin's Creed franchise is worth. Now,
all right.
How much do you think the Call of Duty franchise?
So Assassin's Creed is 300 million.
300 million.
I'm gonna say 350 million.
350. $9.7 billion.
Oh, really? There's that much of a difference?
That's a huge difference.
Is that like is that how much money it's made over its entire lifetime? Or is that just its revenue?
That is its franchise worth.
Wow. So there's people have already done all their work for us.
.com. Yeah.
What'd you say? What was it called?
From moneyinc.com.
Moneyinc.com.
Yeah. The Call of Duty franchise is worth $9.8 billion. That is insane.
That is insane.
Sorry, 9.7. Still, that's almost $10 billion.
Wow.
That's $6 billion more than Disney paid for the Star Wars franchise.
Okay, so how long then has Call of Duty been out? Because I'm assuming
Call of Duty's been out for a while.
Because I'm assuming this takes into consideration the background of Call of Duty, like since the time it started, right?
So the first Call of Duty was released October 9th, 2003.
2003. When was the first Assassin's Creed? Oh, that was like 2006, 2007.
To November 2007.
Okay,
so I mean, there's a 4-year difference, but in that 4 years, still
no, that's a huge difference. I thought Call of Duty was around way earlier than that. Because when did the GameCube come out? We talked about this so many times. I guess that was like 2001.
The GameCube?
I think.
Around that time, yeah. GameCube.
Because that was the first time I played a Call of Duty game.
Really? The first time I played Call of Duty was Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Really?
Yeah, it was in 2008, 2009.
I played Call of Duty.
The GameCube came out in 2002.
I'm going to tell you right now why the original Call of Duty is the best game out of all of the Call of Duty games. And I'm going to give you the single reason why. Me and my friends would play that game, and then we would kill each other, all right? And then when the person died, their body stayed on the map. So you know what we would do? We would go prone, and we would hide in the dead bodies. And eventually, enough people would die in one area
You could just hide in
able
there.
to move around in it, and nobody would know that you were in there.
Oh my god!
They gotta bring that back. That was like the greatest mechanic of the whole game.
Just even on online mode, I feel like they should just leave dead bodies everywhere.
But I mean,
That's
think of it this
pretty
way:
cool.
the quality of Call of Duty has gone downhill since the original.
Since then, no, it
Because
hasn't.
What happens
It
when
went
you kill
up.
someone in the game
It went
now?
up, and then it went
Eventually,
down.
the body disappears. All right, what kind of garbage is that? That's not.
Oh
that's
my
not
God.
realistic.
Yeah, because Call of Duty's all about realism.
That blows my mind, though. I didn't expect there to be that much of a difference.
Yeah, that honestly, like, I had a feeling, like, I knew Call of Duty was going to be worth more than Assassin's Creed just because it's a more general audience that it hits. But I didn't expect that much of a difference, honestly. I thought Assassin's Creed was going to be close.
Okay,
Now
here's
I'm very curious how other franchises compare.
So we've got 300 million
Yeah,
and then 9.7 billion.
yeah.
And then we've got 10 Assassin's Creed games. And then how many Call of Duty games are there? 16. Yeah, okay.
Wow.
I was going to be like, look, they still equal out to the same amount of $1 million per game, but no, it doesn't work that way at all. No. Call of Duty is definitely a far more successful franchise.
Oh, man.
So, there we go. We figured out guys, what makes a video game franchise successful, and it is Call of Duty.
Call of Duty is what makes a video game franchise successful. Just add the words Call of Duty, and apparently you're gonna have a very successful franchise.
No, but I mean, I'd still consider. I guess it's just because I'm not big into the first-person shooter games, and that's why I felt. And see, that's what also makes this difficult about what makes a video game franchise successful or not, is because I think a lot of it comes down to opinion. Like, we could break it down into the monetary value and then just decide if something's successful, but I don't think that's the only way that it can properly be done.
Fair.
So something can be monetarily successful, but
Now,
people can also hate it.
I did bring up a list of the highest growing video game franchises.
Hit me with it.
Now, I will tell you, Call of Duty is number 3.
Really?
That means there are 2 more franchises above Call of Duty. Can you guess what they are, Spen?
Oh. I know Final Fantasy is below it. I think I can safely say that.
Yes.
Because
Final Fantasy is below it.
As much as I want to say Final Fantasy is a successful franchise, it isn't. But it actually is. I just wanted to say that because you're here. But it's more of like successful in like a more of a niche audience. Unfortunately,
Final Fantasy is actually the 12th most successful franchise for video games.
Guys, I know nothing.
Clearly.
So what do you think
number 1 is?
If anybody wants to apply for podcast host.
Before number 1, we'll do number 2. What do you think is the number 2 successful franchise for video games?
I'm going to say it's going to be Mario.
Think Mario's number 2?
I'm going to say FIFA's number 2 and Mario's number 1. Just because FIFA's people love.
You ready for this?
People love money. Oh no, I'm not. Oh god, hit me with it.
FIFA is number 9.
Oh really?
Number 2 is Pokemon.
Ah,
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It is estimated. So I was wrong about Call of Duty. A Google search says Call of Duty is worth 9.7 billion, but according to this Wikipedia,
and Wikipedia,
Call of Duty
we gotta
is
trust
worth,
that because that's legitimate.
As of 2019, Call of Duty is worth 18.1 billion.
That's a lot of
double.
money.
But Pokemon is worth 18.5 billion.
So not even that much more.
Not a whole lot more. Call of Duty is catching up to Pokemon.
Okay, here's more my question is how many Pokemon games are there?
A lot. There's more Pokemon games than Call of Duty games for sure.
There's 69 Pokemon games?
Yeah, makes sense.
Please let that be true.
Yeah, it is. It's got to be, right? Because, like, you got Red and Blue. then you have Yellow, and then so basically every generation of Pokemon, there's 3 games just on handheld consoles.
Yeah.
And then you have like Pokemon Snap, and then the Pokemon Stadiums, and then the Hey You Pikachu, and then all the other stuff. Right?
There are 35 if we go with just the main games.
35.
And that's
And
just
Call of Duty's
just
right
the
behind
main
it.
games.
Call
That's
of
not
Duty,
any
I'd
of
say
the other side ones.
give it a couple years, Call of Duty's going to pass Pokemon pretty easily.
Well, but Call of Duty slowed down with the amount of games. There was a period of time where it was like a game every year.
I think they still do a game every year.
Do they?
I think so, yeah.
So what's number 1?
Number 1, coming in at $31.5 billion.
Please let it be Animal Crossing.
It's Mario.
Okay.
I mean, that's to be expected. Like, Mario would have been my number 1 guess, too.
Yeah. I wanted to say Legend of Zelda just because I felt like there would be a lot of people that would cream themselves hearing that. But, it's not. Sorry, guys.
Nah, Legend of Zelda is...
It's going to be like the 30s.
way down the list.
Yeah.
Way
Sorry,
down
Legend
the
of
list.
Zelda.
Yeah, I would say going from 1 to 10, the top 10 is Mario, Pokemon, Call of Duty, the Wii, Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Dungeon Fighter Online, Crossfire, FIFA, Street Fighter.
Wait, the Wii?
Yeah.
The Wii is just up there with all these games like, woo!
Yeah.
Well, I guess Wii!
The Wii is worth $14 billion.
Wow, it's weird the Wii U's not up there with it.
Yeah, weird. Weird the Wii U is not I mean, it pretty much was just DLC of the Wii, so I mean, that makes sense.
Oh god, I found my Wii U drawing tablet today.
Oh, yeah?
Oh man, I'm excited to be messing around with that. Oh, it's gonna be good.
Spider-Man's above. Spider-Man's up there.
So, hearing all of these franchises,
right?
And from what a little bit of looking around that I did beforehand, I don't want to just jump in and say, but I think I know the 2 most important factors when it comes to a video game franchise being successful.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to say it yet. We're not that far into the podcast.
Well,
but I've already brought it up, so I might as well just go for it.
Yeah, you might as well. Otherwise, you're just going to disappoint people.
I think it's time and consistency. I think that's all it is.
Time and consistency.
Those are if you can maintain those 2 factors of over time consistently putting out something, then I think you're going to, for the most part, have yourself a video game franchise that's successful.
Really? Like,
I think so, because with time comes more experience. You'll be able to figure out what things are working and what aren't working. And if you stop after 1 failed game, then it's not going to work out for you. Obviously, that hasn't worked out for everything. But I think the 2 most important factors are that, and I believe hearing the top 10 list, I think that is in support of it. That being said, quality is important, but 3 games.
But at the same time, Pokemon hasn't changed like their formula in ever. So
I mean, they've made some differences, like some changes, but for the most part, it's been
minor,
pretty darn consistent.
It's been pretty much rock, paper, scissors formula.
Yeah. Well, okay, I see what you mean now. Yeah, that's pretty much how it's been.
Yeah, they haven't changed much at all.
But
League of Legends
there are
is
other
number 13.
Which one?
I'm surprised League of Legends isn't higher, honestly.
Well, League of Legends is newer. It hasn't had the time. You know?
Oh, it came out in 2016? No, it didn't. It came out way before that. Up until...
It was like 2014 or
2009. 2009.
Was it really 2009? I guess it is 2020. Yeah, it has been out for a while.
Yeah, 11 years. But, I mean, I gotta say, Warcraft is at number 11. League of Legends is at number 13. Both of those are strictly PC. pretty
Yes.
impressive.
But
If they're
here's why they haven't made more money.
because they're not on console.
Because, no, console doesn't mean anything to you.
I think console plays a pretty heavy part in that.
No, PC Master Race.
I'm just saying, like, if you look at Call of Duty, I guarantee would not be as successful if it was only on PC.
Well, no, it's definitely... I think anything that comes out on the consoles is going to be more successful than if it just comes out on PC, because you can sell it to more things. There's the Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, and now all these other what's it called, the Soulja Boy console. You know, you got all these great things.
Did you just seriously reference the Soulja Boy console?
You got all these great things that you could be selling your content out on, and it gives you more opportunity to make money. And as much as I hate to admit it, money is what is the part that really makes a console the success, or a successful franchise the most likely is money. That's how the world works. But I think there are some very important things that games have done over the years to make themselves successful, because there's different degrees of success, and there's certain things that help these games towards achieving that success. And they're like, we've talked about a bunch of these games over time, and I mean, of course, I'm gonna hammer it down again and say that 100% it's the consistency and the time that's made a lot of these really successful, like Donkey Kong, Mario, Legend of Zelda, even some of the ones we can say Halo, from how long it's been out, Resident Evil. And the reason why I feel it's safe to say that is because they've been out so long. It's been several generations that have had experience in playing and spending time with these games, and so they get to build different relationships with them. And once you hear something enough, you just start to associate more with it or be more comfortable with it. And so even if someone didn't play Mario when they were younger, the more they hear it, the more they see it, the more likely they are to play it. And then it'll get
a recognizable name.
Yeah, it becomes, I mean, like, they're household names.
So basically what you're saying is, if we just keep next to nothing for 20 more seasons, we're going to have success.
Well, yeah, look at Red versus Blue.
That's true. They have been going for almost 20 seasons.
Yeah. And I mean, not to toot our own horns, but I think we've got something good, and the writing you guys have been doing and the filming you guys have been doing for it is absolutely fantastic. And there's a lot of really good things that are happening with it. And if we can maintain the consistency and continue with it over time, it's something that people are drawn to, that find it if it's something they're looking for. And over time, I think it'll just, more people will know about it.
You heard it here, everybody. Spen is single-handedly going to continue next to nothing for 20 more seasons.
Which is funny, because when we first started, I was like, no, one season and we do something else. So, but I mean, even though I think those are really, really important and probably the most important factors, I think there's other things that can make or break it.
Yeah.
Like, there's some that have made their success based on fantastic story and powerful characters. And I think we can't see, that's tough that we can't call that one a franchise. But I mean, you could argue Halo has a really interesting story. It had mechanics that were unique.
Yeah.
And it had a lot of powerful things for its time. And those are some of the things that helped make it successful. It's multiplayer that people loved, all these other things. And it's something that it was important to draw the people in, to get them playing it. And it was the consistency of the content of those games, like the quality and like the story and the aspects of what you would basically do to play the game, that kind of helped drive it forward as well.
I'm just trying to fathom, how is the Wii number 4? It doesn't make any sense. It's a console. How is the PlayStation not above it? Because the PS2 is the highest selling console of all time. So why is PlayStation not? Oh, Wii Sports.
See, there we go. Okay, that makes more sense now.
That's what it means. The Wii franchise of Wii Sports and Wii Fit and other games with the Wii title in it.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense then.
Yes, that makes way more sense. And the only reason Wii Sports is that successful is because they gave them with the consoles.
Is it though? Because
I mean, it was a lot of fun. I will say I played the shit out of Wii Sports. But
the Wii Sports was a hit in every age demographic of every type of person, place, or thing. Even cars love it. See, even cars love it.
Even cars, huh?
Yeah.
Great.
I'm sure if they had the opportunity, we would have seen the guys from Cars playing the Wii.
The guy from Cars? You mean like Lightning McQueen?
Yeah, that and Mater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and Mater.
Yeah, I'm sure they would love it.
Maple Story's on this list.
No.
Yes! I love Maple Story.
Man, I don't even remember what podcast it was. He had some pretty good stories back then.
Man, Maple Story was amazing. I love that game. I need to play it again sometime just to see how different it is and then be disappointed.
So then, Zio, my question for you. I played it a little bit. I don't know too much about it. Resident Evil.
Yeah.
What do you think they did that made them a successul franchise?
Zombies, man. Zombies.
Is that all
Everybody
it is?
loves
the
zombies. I mean...
Because there was a period of time where there were just so many zombie games coming out that the zombie genre started to die off.
Yes, but Resident Evil evolved from zombies as well. They have other things too, naturally, to where it's just more monstrosities. But initially, excuse me, I'm getting on real quick. Initially, zombies, yeah, because like it came out in 1996, and it was the first of its kind of a type of game that incorporated this huge horror genre to this extent, I believe. I think it really kind of revolutionized horror games at the time.
Okay.
And it carried that for 4 more titles until it started to go bad. And then after it started to go bad, they realized that. And then
where did it start to go bad?
Resident Evil 5.
So what made 5 bad?
Because it switched from horror to more action-oriented. And I think that was during the time frame, like you were saying, where the zombie genre was kind of oversaturated. That's at like the peak of The Walking Dead, and zombie movies were being made left and right and stuff.
Yeah,
like
Left 4
that.
Dead 2, I think, was right at the peak of like, no, we're done with zombie games.
Yeah, so and then Resident Evil 5 decided to, instead of trying to make them more horrifying, they added like these different types of zombies where they were like, they would like also have like these weird tentacle things come out of their mouth at the same time.
Was that with Leon?
No, that was Resident Evil 4.
Okay,
Resident Evil 5 was with Chris and then some other chick that I don't remember.
Chris Hemsworth?
Yes. And then Leonardo DiCaprio came back for Resident Evil 6.
Wait, came back. He was what voiced...
He I'm just kidding.
Okay. I was like, what is this?
when you made your Chris Hemsworth joke, I decided to change Leon into Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay.
They brought Leon back for Resident Evil 6, but then they had like the Umbrella Squad, and that was just a bomb.
See, I don't remember much about that one.
Yeah,
which is the one
it wasn't great.
Which is the one that came out with the creepy house?
That was Resident Evil 7.
Ah, okay. Did they bring it back?
I will say 7 revitalized the franchise, yes, because they changed everything. They changed from a third-person action shooter into a first-person surreal horror, but it still had like the feeling of Resident Evil towards the end, where you could go over the top. But it wasn't a
survival game anymore. It was just a horror.
It still had some survival elements. Like you still had to like have item management and resource management and stuff like that. They just made it a much more intimate story as opposed to going bigger and grander like they did with every Resident Evil game before that. And I think that's what really revamped the series. And then obviously the remake of Resident Evil 1, 2, and now 3 coming out, where they're redoing those classics in a more modern approach that has worked out for them very well. Because Resident Evil 2 was my favorite Resident Evil game, and it was glorious. I loved it.
Yeah, the remake you're talking about.
Yes. And I wanted to do a Let's Play with you so we could play it together. But you're like, nope, I can't. I'm just a scaredy cat. My name's Ben.
I did watch a friend play a little bit of it, though.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
On his stream, and it's not bad. The game looked interesting.
Mm.
It was nice for him to be able to talk about stuff and be like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen here, and this is gonna be there, and I'm like, oh sweet. None of the suspense here is to mess with me. He was like, oh yeah, we're gonna shoot all these dogs here, otherwise they'll come and attack us later. I'm like, oh dude, you're like, good, nice job. He made the game bearable for me.
Sorry, well, I'm glad, Spen. I'm glad you can avoid the horror. Oh, dude, they're coming out with a new Amnesia game.
No.
You know that?
They're remastering it and apparently adding more to it, so it's supposed to be more scary than it was before.
Oh, we need to play that.
No, we didn't get
to finish it. So it would be perfect.
I don't know what happened to it, Gio. I don't know what happened.
It would be perfect if we just picked this up on the remaster with the new horror elements, and it'll be fresh for both of us, so I can't, like, pretend to tell you that everything's gonna fine.
Look, I can promise you the only way I would play another horror game is if some sort of competition happened or something where I ended up getting paid a lot of money.
All right, everybody, we're going to start a GoFundMe page for Spen. So we're going to play the new Amnesia game when it comes out. If we reach his goal of $10, he will play the game.
No. Okay. I'm not going to do this, but the only way that I would play through a horror game all the way is if I went on to Twitch and I set a donation when we reach $1,000, I will play a horror game.
I'm going to start this GoFundMe page and I'm going to donate $1,000 into your Twitch. Then you'll have to do it.
No,
everybody will love it.
No, it's not going to
happen. Except
you.
No,
it's not going to happen. But there's been a few games franchise. I brought 3 examples of video game franchises that failed because I thought it would be important to talk about some ones that failed. Because there's so many more that we can talk about that are successful.
And then we can clearly use our expertise to tell them why they failed. Because we all know that these video game companies listen to you and me.
Yeah, one of them, I don't know why it failed. I honestly don't know.
Okay.
Also because I never played it.
Oh, well,
but
maybe
I had
that's
a friend
why
that talked
failed,
really highly about it. But Too Human. Too Human was a game that came out on the original Xbox. Too Human 2 also came out on the 360 and I believe around the time the Xbox One was coming out. And this was a game, it was kind of, it was like an RPG, but it was very like futuristic feel to it.
Yeah.
The first one was okay. It was not too bad. The second one was let me double check if there even was a Too Human 2, because I might be thinking of like an expansion or something.
I mean, I'm looking it up right now, and I gotta say, the picture for the game looks terrible. Maybe that's why it was. Maybe that's why it failed.
Its graphics, the graphics weren't fantastic for it. There were some. Oh, maybe there wasn't a second one. Maybe it was only a first one. Maybe we can't talk about this one. Oh, I guess it's not a franchise. It was supposed to be.
Oh.
There was supposed to be a second and a third one. So, never mind, it's not a franchise.
I gotta say, you know what I do find interesting? I did have one specific topic that I wanted to bring up for failing franchises. And I wanted to talk about this game for a while, because I think it kind of came up in other things, but I just never got to it. Have you ever heard or played Kingdoms of Amalur?
Amalur, yeah.
Reckoning? That game was a lot of fun. I love that game.
Reckoning was the remake, wasn't it?
Yes, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know. I just know that I really liked the game. So, like, because we talked about Skyrim or something in a different podcast, and you were like, Skyrim's so good and so successful because of this. And I was going to, like, I actually really enjoyed Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning more because I enjoyed the exaggerated art of it and the features, and it wasn't
I think you
so
have
realistic.
talked about this one before.
Now, this game wasn't successful, although it was a very good game.
But it wasn't a franchise.
It was the beginning of a franchise.
Was it?
Yes, but then
really?
it died.
Oh, okay. So it didn't even get the chance to be a franchise.
There was gonna be a sequel. There was one planned, but then the studio behind it claimed bankruptcy and closed.
So can we talk about that one then? If it never actually became a franchise,
but it would be a failed franchise. Anything has started is technically a franchise.
I guess that's true.
Wasn't a continued franchise.
All right, Zio, I'll give you that one. That one makes sense.
I mean, it was a failed franchise. I'm very curious to why it failed though, because I loved the game. Like, I platinumed this game. If you go to my trophy list on PlayStation, you will see a platinum for this game.
Yeah, because I think Reckoning, I want to say Reckoning was the remaster. It's what I'm seeing here is it was from a THQ Nordic. Are they the ones that made it to begin with?
They're the ones that made it.
Oh, okay. Because I had a buddy in high school that absolutely loved this game. He always talked about it, and I never played it because I was too busy playing Skyrim.
It was really good. Yeah, I thought it was pretty fantastic. It kind of mixed like Skyrim with God of War, I would say.
Oh, okay.
You know, it just had more exaggerated features to the characters.
So what made it fail then?
I don't know, honestly. Try to look. Playable demo was released with Mass Effect 3. Oh, Mass Effect 3, that's what killed it. Everyone hated that game so much they didn't even want to try Kingdom of... I'm just kidding.
That's fair. Mass Effect was a fantastic game. So, Zio doesn't like it for silly reasons, but that's okay. We've talked about it before. We'll probably get into it again in a later podcast.
Yeah, probably.
So
I honestly don't know why it failed. I just thought of it off the top of my head right now when we were talking.
Do you remember Kane and Lynch?
No. What is that?
So Kane and Lynch was a series that came out. There ended up being 2 games of it where you played as Kane and Lynch, these kind of like badass mercenary type characters that were kind of in trouble with the law and trying to get themselves out of trouble. But what was interesting about it is it was designed to be played with 2 people. So one person played as Kane, one person played as Lynch. You'd get a little bit different kind of stuff to interact with as each of the characters. And the game ended up having a second one that came out, but it just didn't get very much didn't get a very strong reception from people. Its reviews weren't the most fantastic. It struggled with some of its gameplay elements. Some of its story was a little bit kind of weird and just not ready, I think. And that's what made Kane and Lynch fail as a franchise, I think, was that they didn't find the nice, like, I really enjoyed the games, but they didn't find that nice balance between mechanics and story. It seemed to either focus too hard one way or too hard the other.
Okay.
And I don't know, it's tough to say because it came out around, God, you know what? I can't even really say. I don't even remember. I did a bunch of, so I read up a bunch on Kane and Lynch and then Bubsy. Hopefully you know about Bubsy. And then I noticed Too Human just before we started the podcast, so I wanted to bring up that one a little bit. But Kane and Lynch definitely failed due to audience reception, where it wasn't... It didn't make enough money to survive, and it kind of got lost in a sea of all the other games. They didn't do a fantastic job, I think, of just getting out the idea of the game in a way that people could hear it and be like, you know, that sounds really cool. I want to go try that out. So I think because it had a nice solid foundation to go up on. But it struggled with just getting to know about it, which I think there's a lot of the franchises that haven't done well just because it just hasn't gotten the reach, if that makes sense.
Fair. When you were talking about Kane and Lynch, it made me think of another game that I think also failed. It is a franchise. It has 3 games in its franchise called Army of Two.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever play it?
It is very similar to Kane and Lynch, just not Kane and Lynch isn't military based.
Yeah, so this is military based, and it was at the height of Call of Duty. So like it followed a very military shooter, but it was a third person shooter, and it was a 2-player game. So you played together, and you had different.
Because you had to play it 2-player, didn't you?
Yes. And I thought it was a really good game. Like I remember playing this game with my buddy. We bought the first one, then we got the next one the 40th day. And I think it just slowly got a little worse with each game because Army 2 had 2 very specific characters. They had Salem and Rio.
Okay.
And I liked the protagonists, and they were fun, and they had different personalities, and it felt like a buddy cop army movie type of thing.
Yeah.
And then the 40th day, they changed like the voice actors for those characters, so that obviously is a slight distance from you, just because like when you change voice actors of characters you love, it makes it harder to believe in them unless they're a really good voice actor. And then they released their third title, Army of Two, The Devil's Cartel, and it didn't even have the main characters. Like they just created whole new characters, and they didn't give them names. It was just Alpha and Bravo. And the story was worse, and it was just even more of a disconnect because you couldn't follow the characters through the game. So I think that partially led to why it wasn't successful. Also, it was at the height of Call of Duty, so I had to go against a giant, and I think what it didn't do was really have good online play to kind of compete. It was just a singular story and some missions instead of like a competitive mode. How you could have done a competitive mode, I'm not 100%, but I felt like they should have at least tried, because I mean, just look at The Last of Us, right? They made a competitive mode for that game, and it's a very successful competitive mode.
Not so much anymore. It's fallen.
No, people to this day played it until the game literally they shut it down.
Really?
Yeah,
I guess I do remember seeing people, because when I was streaming The Last of Us, there were still people playing the multiplayer version of it.
Yeah, the multiplayer was very, very successful in that community, and people were really upset when they announced that Part 2 isn't going to have a multiplayer.
What's tough though is how big of a community was that?
Well, let's look it up.
How many people were playing it while it was live? Because I remember hearing little bits about the multiplayer stuff and seeing some people play it, but I didn't think the multiplayer was that big. Like I didn't think it was that large of a group of people that played it.
I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Okay.
Find out.
All right. Well, while you do that, I'm going to ask a couple questions then. Do you think that the game you're talking about, Army of Two, correct? That's how it said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Army of Two, would it have been different if they kept the voice actors and the 2 characters the same?
I do think it would have helped. I mean, it would have helped just to probably like feel for the characters a little more, because like I know when I played the second one, I didn't play it as much. So my buddy and I played the first one together, and we replayed it multiple times because we really enjoyed it. And then when the second one came, we only played it one time. I mean, the story probably wasn't as engaging. Okay. But at the same time, the voice actors, I think, played a pretty hefty role in it. I don't know. I just remember specifically being very disappointed about the new voice actors and how I didn't like their voices. It didn't seem like it just fit the characters.
No, that's fair. Because you've got characters that you've been playing for so long and you've fallen in love with them, and now suddenly they don't sound the same. It'd be like if you woke up in the morning, you went downstairs, and your mom's voice and your dad's voice were different. Right.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, obviously that's a bit more extreme of an example, but
yeah, you grow to love these characters. They feel like a whole new personality to you, something that's alive.
Yeah.
And it's just when that changes, it throws you off, and you don't feel like it's the same person or being. And so I'm having a hard time finding numbers for this, but I know it's up in the thousands still.
Okay.
Like it's a big deal.
That surprises me. I mean, I guess 1,000 people, that's not a lot. So it doesn't surprise me that much.
Not 1,000, thousands of people were still playing The Last of Us 6 years after it came out. Like they were constantly updating the multiplayer.
Wow.
Like they kept the service going for that game for quite a while.
Well, because they had multiplayer for Uncharted. Uncharted had a multiplayer thing, and that was supposed to. People seem to enjoy that a fair amount as well.
Yeah, but it wasn't as good. Like, The Last of Us was just incredibly balanced, and it was very, very strategic compared to the Uncharted, I would say. As Uncharted was probably more run and gun style.
I guess, The Last of Us is one of those rare cases of a game where they put in multiplayer and it worked. Because there were a lot of games that would come out with their single player. There was a single player game, and then they would have a multiplayer section of it.
Like Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider was a single player game that was fantastic, and they just threw a multiplayer in it, and it was awful. I remember because I was trying to platinum the game, and like their multiplayer was just god awful. I just gave up on platinuming the game because I couldn't deal with how buggy, how terrible, how unbalanced it was.
Oh, okay.
But The Last of Us, the reason I think that was successful and was because like Naughty Dog put real effort into it. Like they took the game mechanics of The Last of Us and put it in the multiplayer in a competitive fashion. And it worked out fantastically. Like, to this day, I have very fond memories of playing it. Like, if I had people to play it with, I probably would still play it.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
The only reason I stopped was because my friends moved on to Destiny. And otherwise, like, if I had 2 or 3 people to play this with, I'd be playing it still. Like, it was a blast. I have nothing but good memories. Very well balanced. The games were so fun. They weren't like a run and gun style game, and you knew that. And it felt heavier and more punch. Like a win felt worth it, you know?
No, that makes sense. Oh, excuse me.
Now, The Last of Us Part 2, the way I feel is I think they're going to release their own standalone game for the multiplayer because of how successful it was in the first one. So I think they're just going to flesh it out
multiplayer
more.
Altogether. Not enough people played it. It was garbage.
Yeah, whatever. Shut up, Spence.
So, the only other one that I wanted to talk about that was a franchise that failed was Bubsy. Do you have any idea? I guess maybe there's a few of these I should have sent to you. So Bubsy was a 2D platformer that came out many years ago. And it was praised for, or generally praised for the content that it had. It was a very well-known game, and then what killed it came out Bubsy 3D, which is a 3D version of the game that was just an absolute pile of crap.
Oh, yeah?
And then it ended up losing. They lost enough money on it that they were just like, no, okay, we're done. And there's been some games that have been able to do the transition from 2D to 3D, and they've done it well. Mario is a fantastic example. They had a 2D foundation, and then eventually they branched out into the 3D. And I think the reason why it worked and it was successful is because they were still able to maintain that consistency. So it still felt like you were playing the same game, but this time it was 3D. If that makes sense.
Now, you say 3D in the sense of like 3-dimensional movement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, 3D is in like a three-dimensional movement.
Yeah, other games did that too, like I want to say like Sly Cooper. Sly Cooper, the first game, I believe, started off more of like a Crash Bandicoot style game where it had like 2.5D in the sense of movement, where it was mostly side to side or front and back.
Yeah, it was basically like a bullet hell type game, but you changed and evolved as you were going on this journey.
Yeah,
to like different vehicles and whatnot.
Sly Cooper 2, they kind of opened the world a little bit, and 3, they got even bigger. They kind of changed how it worked, and I thought that worked out really well for it.
Sly Cooper 2.
Yeah.
See, that was on PlayStation. That's why I don't remember that one.
Well, Bubsy's on PlayStation.
Yeah, well, the only reason I know about Bubsy is because of how bad Bubsy 3D was so bad of a game that we actually learned about it in when I went to school for 3D game animation.
Really?
Yeah, we had, or not learned about it, but we talked about it in one of our classes.
There's still more Bubsy games. Like they released a new one on the Switch last year.
They did, but it's not a successful franchise anymore because after the third one came out and it was an absolute disaster, and I don't believe they came out with games anywhere near as often as they did. Bubsy games.
Yeah, it looks like Bubsy, and then Bubsy 2, and then Bubsy 3D in 1996, and then they haven't made another one since 2017.
Yeah, it wasn't until 2017 and 2019. So, I mean, you could still argue that it's successful enough that it's still going, but I think with just how long, like, because they came out with games very frequently, and it was generally thought of as a good game.
Yeah,
And then 3D came out, and it was just like, no, they were done. I didn't even know 17. They came out in 2017 and 2019. That's
this is a failed franchise.
What's that?
Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
It sat in development hell for a very long time. That doesn't do well for video games.
Well, that doesn't do well, but I think part of what also had it... see, this is tough, because I think while consistency is important in like your mechanics and your gameplay, the game still needs to be able to adapt. Yeah. And the Duke Nukem game, maybe it just didn't get the opportunity to because of how crazy development hell can be. Yeah. But it didn't adapt to what we needed for games. If that game had came out 6 or 7 years earlier, it would have been great. I think it would have been fine. We would have seen more Duke Nukem games.
Well, yeah, because it wouldn't have taken 10 years to make as opposed to a few years.
When the game came out, sure, the graphics had improved, but all the mechanics of the game were something we would have expected from many years ago.
Yeah,
like it wasn't good. So I guess that one's tough. But yeah, it's a failed franchise just because I don't think there's even talk of a new Duke Nukem at all, is there?
No.
There's like a remake, I believe.
Right. You know what else was a bad franchise?
What's that?
Conquer.
See, I don't even remember
Conquer.
Conquer.
The Conquer games? So there was a Conquer game that came out in the Game Boy. Game Boy. Either the Advance or the Color. Came out like late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
And then Conker's Bad Fur Day came out for the Nintendo 64. And that game took the world by storm because it was an adult game on the Nintendo 64. It's about this squirrel, and there's so much like crass humor and cursing and adult humor. And I loved that game. It was so much fun. And then Xbox bought Rare or something like that, and they came out with Conquer Live and Reloaded about 4 years later. And it was not good. It didn't have the charm that Conquer had. It's weird because Conquer changed quite a bit. Like the first one was a very family-friendly game. And then they had Conker's Bad Fur Day, which they took the character and just flipped it on its head. And then that was so successful that they came out with Conquer Live Reloaded, which is just basically like a multiplayer reference of it. Because Conker's Bad Fur Day also had multiplayer where you were squirrels versus teddy bears. And I loved it. It was amazing. It was so much fun. But Live and Reloaded was nowhere near as good. And it didn't have the same story. I think it was just kind of like a remake of Conker's as well.
Okay.
So it was just like a graphical upgrade in a remake of it, but I think they censored things out of it too. And
so it wasn't able to kind of keep with what it had before.
Right.
Okay. Because that's what it seems like most of the franchises that have failed, it's either they weren't able to continue in kind of bringing the same kind of feel or atmosphere that the previous games did. Yeah. Or they just had one game that just was such a bomb that they weren't really able to continue with it. And that really seems to be what the two major things that kind of just destroy a franchise is. Yeah. Just either it's not the game that people love anymore, or it's just some sort of mechanics in it or something are so bad that they just can't make more.
Yeah, sometimes people just have one-hit wonders. I mean, and that's fine. You don't always have to continue everything in a sequel.
Because not every successful franchise has had fantastic games the whole way through. Like, most franchises have had some games that just have been nowhere near as good as the others.
Like Crash Bandicoot. That has quite a few failures.
Crash Bandicoot.
And then also Ratchet & Clank had a few failures in the mix.
Yeah, but they were consistent in continuing to make more games.
Yeah.
And eventually they refound what it was that worked with it. It's the one thing that we're always told about with YouTube as well. Consistency.
That's right. And that's why we're going to continue Next to Nothing into 24 seasons.
Exactly. If we even stop there, you know?
If we even stop, who knows? Maybe we'll do 30 seasons.
Look, guys, if the coronavirus doesn't kill us all, you can expect...
Way to make it political, Spen.
Then you can
This is why we're in top protection right now, and we're in a hotel room using their top-notch computers and microphones that they gave us.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they didn't give us cameras.
Look, I live up in Canada where it's too cold for viruses to do anything, and even
Great! Now they know we're in Canada. Jeez, it's supposed to be some top secret location.
But yeah, it's. I honestly think those are the two big things for a successful franchise: is time and consistency.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of other things that many franchises have had that are very different than others, but they've done something unique or done something really well, and they've consistently kept up with the things that make the franchise what it is.
Yeah. And I'm glad we could kind of come to that answer probably about 20 minutes into this podcast, but we dragged it on for an hour, so we really bored people out of their minds. I'm really glad we can do that.
That's okay.
Kind of
this podcast will bomb, and then we'll lose so much money off of it that we just won't make any more.
Oh man, isn't that the dream?
This will be our Bubsy 3D.
This will be our Bubsy 3D. But I do know, to continue the spirit, we do have to address our question of the week.
Oh shoot, what was our question last time?
Going to the channel, to the community page right now to look it up. So last week's question of the week was, if you could pick one of these animes to have an American live action adaptation next, which would it be? And then I said we would talk about it in the podcast. So we got Steins Gate, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Darker Than Black, and I couldn't remember anymore, and I didn't want to listen to the podcast, so I chose Sword Art Online.
Sure, that works.
Yeah, and then lastly, I put other. Comment below.
You got
and then
bored listening to our podcast?
No, I just didn't want to go back to listen to it.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't even listen to it, Spen.
Oh, that's fair. I didn't listen to it either.
And you're the editor. I just blindly go in and just say, yeah, it's fine.
No, I listened to it.
And then lastly, I have other. Comment below, and Zia will do a push-up for each other option because that's what you volunteered me for.
I don't even remember that. Good job, Spencer.
The winner was Sword Art Online with 34% of our votes. Yeah, we had 30 votes on it. 34% of the people. I was gonna
be like, were there 6 votes?
Now, other is number 2. A lot of people had other suggestions.
Oh, dude, I don't know if they wanted to.
So the suggestions was from Fibby, I don't like animes, and then crying face.
Oh, get out of here, Fibs.
Then Alan Play suggested Gate. I don't know what Gate is. Do you know what Gate is?
Gate is an anime about the Japan Self-Defense Force, where Japan gets attacked by like dragons and like these medieval type things, and then it all disappears back through this gate. So then the Self-Defense Force goes into this gate to this medieval fantasy world with all their guns and tanks.
Good lordy. I'm going to say right now, Alan Plays, that's never going to be adapted. That's way too out there for the American audience to handle.
But it's definitely far too out because they get into a bunch of like the Lolita stuff. And
yeah.
But you should check it out. It's a really good one. Maybe we'll review that one of these days.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to review it sometime. So Alan Plays, if you listen to this podcast, call us out right now. Tell us to review it, and I promise in the next months, eventually coming months, we'll watch it and we'll review it for you.
I'm cool with that. I'd like to rewatch that anime. I thought it was really good.
So after Alan Plays his answer, we had Wheelspin Productions. He said Nun. Now, I never heard of this Nun anime.
None. Well, let's look it up.
But I'm pretty sure he means that he doesn't want any anime to be Americanized.
Did he mean non Biori?
Unless there actually is
non-battle anime.
Maybe he might have meant that.
I think he meant non-Biori. So
well, it's None is what he put. So I think he means he doesn't want any anime.
It could have been spell correct.
It could have been spell correct. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
It non-Biori. It takes place in a country small town village. Oh wait, no, that's not what this is.
So I put none anime, and you want to know the first thing that pops up?
What?
This scene in darkness. It looks like two teenagers doing it, and then this girl says to the guy, "I will love you all my life when I die. I will still love you through eternity and beyond." Yep, that's the number one image that comes up when I put that.
Oh, I've seen non-Biori.
Is that from Non-Biori?
No, I'm just reading the thing here. It's about these these grade school kids and middle school kids that live in a small town so far out secluded that they all kind of go to the same basically the same class where there's one teacher that teaches several different grades, and it's really adorable. It's a pretty good one.
Well, we hope you meant that, Wheelspin Productions, because we wanted you to play along. Jace,
are there a fair amount of these?
Yeah, there's a few.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, Jace Ty said One Punch Man.
Oh, yeah. I want to say he's not going to get an American one, but I think he's getting a...
How? If there was an American one, who would you cast as One Punch Man?
I don't know. That'd be tough.
I'm going to go...
Oh, what about the guy who plays in the new remake of the X-Men movies, Professor X?
James McAvoy?
Yeah.
He'd be a good One Punch Man. Yeah, I could see that.
I think I'd be cool. I'd watch that. Because he's got like the right attitude as well for like those silly moments too.
Yeah, he's a fantastic actor. He can do that. We got another one. Etha says no game, no life.
Oh no.
I
don't want to I don't want to see that. I couldn't finish No Game No Life.
Isn't that like relatively new?
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see that one as an American adaptation because it's really weird in the sense where there's so it's another one of those ones where it's like a brother and a sister that go to a different world, and they're using their different because they used to be like these massive they were in the Japanese world, experts at solving puzzles and all these different crazy types of games like that. And so now they're using those abilities to solve puzzles in this new world. But there's like this weird relationship between the brother and the sister it's just...
Oh, it's one of those?
Yeah.
That's never going to be adapted.
No.
Very, very sorry, Etha. Sorry, but that's probably never, ever going to be adapted in America.
Oh, man. See, I don't know if this is going to be good, but I'm going to send you a video link here to the podcast. It's Spider-Man versus One Punch Man in real life live action.
What? All right, I'll have to watch that after.
All right, what else do we got?
And last but not least, we got from Jake Comer. And
Jake, this better be a good one.
He said... You're going to be disappointed. He said, will he be doing them on air? This could get interesting. So, about me doing push-ups, I imagine.
Oh.
So, Jake, I'm going to do them on air right here in the podcast. So, it's for this special podcast where you guys can't see us. I'm going to do 5 push-ups. Now, you can clearly hear my voice getting farther away from the microphone.
He's actually doing it.
That means I'm on the ground. Ugh. Oh God, I haven't done a push-up in years.
I can't see him actually. How many push-ups could you do?
1.
Oh, the worst part is he can hear me too, so I can't say anything really silly yet.
3. Oh God, that hurts. 4. And 5. There we go.
I was gonna say I don't know if I can say that he did it, but it looks like he's sweating.
My wife is staring at me very awkwardly.
Oh, is she in the same room?
No, but she walked down the hall because she heard me screaming for my life.
Tell her I say hi.
Spen says hi, lady. Lady Zio says hi.
I haven't texted her in a while.
You should text her. I'm sure she would love to talk to you. But yes.
Okay.
Man,
when's the last time you
I
did
really am
push-ups?
sweating now. I haven't done push-ups since high school, man.
How many could you do?
Well, that was 5. I'm gonna say that's it.
Really?
That's all I can do now.
Even I'm better than you.
Well, do some push-ups right now. Go for it.
In my prime,
Oh, in my prime is different. I was able to do.
In my prime, I could do like 20.
In my prime, I could do like 7.
Oh, really?
No, I don't know. I
was gonna say 7's pretty sad.
I remember in basketball practice, we had to do like 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups in one go.
What?
Yeah, that was exhausting.
Oh God, no.
But,
oh God, I'm sure I've told you this story before, and I'm sure I'm going to tell you it again because it's one of my favorites. In gym class, we had to do this thing where we set up a bunch of stuff around the gym, and then we just go around doing like an exercise on each different thing, and then record all of it, and then by the end of the month, we'd see how well we've improved. Yeah. Very first day of doing this, very first thing I do is pull-ups, and I pull a muscle in my stomach, and then I'm out of gym for a month and a half. I pulled it really bad.
Dang.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But I gotta say, I'm not surprised by the choices. Sword Art Online, I could honestly saw that being the number 1 choice.
Well, it's not bad. It's fairly well adaptable over it. Even if they decide to be like, we're gonna do it in New York City, I'd be like, sure. Yeah.
Now, what do you think was after Sword Art? Steins Gate, Full Metal Alchemist, or Darker Than Black?
I'm gonna say it was Full Metal Alchemist.
Nope, it was Steins Gate.
Really?
Now, Steins Gate, I think, would be the easiest to adapt in America. I think they could really push that because it's super easy to make, American transitions to all that.
Yeah,
Again, you can change Tokyo to New York, and then as long as you kept the personalities of the characters, I think it'd work fine.
They'll never be able to do a good job at it, though.
No.
Because they'll try and pick actors that either match the voice too well, and so then it just sounds stupid in English.
Yeah.
Like, how are they supposed to do the do from Miori? I don't remember how to say her name.
Well, it could be like the situation where instead of making her an adult, they'd probably make her a child.
See, but then that ruins the whole relationship dynamic between her and the other main character.
Does it? I don't think it would. I think it does. I don't think it would ruin that. I think because, like, she
didn't they grow up together?
Yeah, but she acted like a child anyways.
Yeah, but there's so many moments that happen, and you see a lot of the dramatic and the intenseness of it because of the cuts to their backstory between the two of them. Where if she's a child, it's like, what is he supposed to do?
Well,
like,
you can make it like
mom and dad be like, you're not born yet, but one of these days.
No, I think it could still work where, like, maybe if they're a brother and sister, because that's kind of like the feeling of their relationship, right? It felt like a brother-sister relationship to me.
Kind of. There were moments where it seemed like it could have been more. Like, they left things questionable for it, but I'm sure a lot of it was kind of more for the fan service. I don't think that's how it was at all.
I felt it was more brother-sister with a slight, she was kind of his mom figure, like, because she got all the groceries and took care of them, but that's also a sisterly thing. So
what do they do about the side characters that work at the maid cafe and how the some of the maid cafe stuff becomes very important to the progression of the story?
Keep it a maid cafe. I don't know. Whatever.
You what?
Keep it a maid cafe. It's New York. Crazy shit happens in New York. It's fine.
Yeah, but it's America.
Whatever.
They can't do that.
You know what? I'm just saying, out of all of these animes, I see Steins Gate being the easiest.
Really?
Yeah. As long as they did it as a like a Netflix series, I could see it.
In terms of adapting the story, I think Sword Art Online would be the easiest.
You would think, but I see too much of, like, what was that one with the video game movie that came out that was produced by Steven? Yes, I see a lot of Ready Player One in that.
No, that's fair. That's fair. They do have some similarities in it. But I think the concept of Sword Art Online would be, because it just takes place in the future. They've got this, and there's nothing that really happens in Sword Art Online, minus like some little simple things with food that is really kind of culture based. I guess there's nothing like that I guess the only big thing in Steins Gate is some of the stuff to do with the maid cafe and just the couple of personalities of the characters.
Yeah, again, if they just kept the personalities, I think they could adapt it pretty well.
No, that's fair.
Who knows?
I still think Sword Art Online would be easier for them to do.
That's fair.
Story-wise.
I mean, it was the #1 winner anyways, so.
Yeah. Good choice, guys. I approve.
Yeah. Now, Spen's going to ask you another question of the week.
Oh, right. You'd think I would have realized that as soon as we were going to do kind of talking about this here.
Yeah, because at this point, it's becoming successful, Spen. We're getting a lot of answers.
Yeah.
Or maybe not a lot of answers, but we're getting a lot of votes.
Okay, well, the next podcast is anime. Because what are we doing? We are reviewing, what's the show called again, Sam?
Darwin's Game.
Yeah, Darwin's Game. We're watching up to the point that it's currently at. And we will be, I don't even remember what day of the week oh shoot, I guess that's important. When does Darwin's Game release?
I think it releases on like Tuesdays. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. Either way,
okay, cool.
It's going to be like halfway through the season at that point.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
We're going to watch it up to the halfway point, and then we're going to also try to predict where it's going.
Yeah.
We know there's a manga, obviously, about it, but we're not going to read the manga. We're not going to cheat. We're just going to try to guess where it goes, and we'll revisit it when the show ends.
Exactly.
Anyways, question of the week, Spen.
Okay, so the question of the week is, we're going to make it anime themed.
Even though our last question of the week was anime themed?
Yeah, that's okay. We're going to keep this one anime themed.
All right, we're just going to keep it anime themed. All right, good.
Okay. Does fan service actually hurt anime, or does it add more to the bundle?
Okay. All right.
That's the question.
Right.
I can change it if you don't like the question.
I personally think it doesn't fit this podcast, but it's fine. Whatever.
Okay, well, fine. Then how's this one?
All right, we're changing the question of the week, everybody. Ixnay on the last question of the week.
I'm scrolling down.
I got one. Here, how about this?
Go for it.
Out of all the failed video game franchises, or any franchise
we're doing
that have
video
just
games.
stopped.
Okay, fine. I see how it is.
Yeah. Which franchise would you bring back today?
If all of them stopped. Wait, what was your question again?
Out of all the video game, all of the failed ones and the ones that are no longer being made, which video game franchise would you bring back?
That's a good one. I like that one. So are we going to do that where we ask the opposite question then? Like the opposite thing? So if we're doing like if we're going to be doing mostly like an anime theme, we'll ask a video game question. If we're doing mostly
this one was a video game themed podcast, so we ask a video game themed question.
But I meant, I guess, it's still the same kind of thing. Because I meant in terms of like, if we're doing an anime podcast, then the question for that podcast that we'll be answering was the opposite, which is kind of what we're doing. So never mind. It's it. Yep.
We're just answering questions from the last podcast.
Yeah.
We're just talking about it.
It's all good.
Okay,
Everything.
Glad we're on the same page.
You answered my question.
All right.
Without knowing
Sounds
you answered it by the sounds of it.
Great. I'm glad, Spen. I'm here for your answers.
Also, Smiley, you're fired.
Yes. Smiley, you are fired officially.
All right, I'm going into Discord right now.
Oh, are you going to take away his fact checking?
I'm taking away.
He's going to lose it.
That's fine, because I'm gonna message him and be like, look, Smiley.
Don't message him. Wait till he finds out.
Oh, he'll never even know.
That's how it should be. I'm going to his roles right now.
Because if he was... you're opening it up too.
Fact checker is gone.
We should change it to no longer fact checks for game.
No longer fact checker of game. We should just change his nickname. That's what we should do.
Smiley no longer fact.
Because right now he is Smiley the Fact Master. So we need to change his nickname.
Yeah, because he hasn't fact checked anything for us in a very long time.
I'm gonna change his name to no longer the Fact Master. I noticed that way sooner. So he is now Smiley no longer the Fact Master. Oh, it's too long. It's got to be shorter.
Okay, what about...
Hold up. It's fine. Hold up. I got. Dang it. It's still too long.
Okay, what's the opposite of master?
Loser? The fact loser? Is that what we should do?
No, we can't. We shouldn't do anything like that.
Because, like, opposite would be like apprentice, right?
What about...
Smiley, the fact, disappointment.
Smiley, the fact fired? No.
The fired factor.
the fired fact master.
The fired factor. We're going to call him that.
Okay. I like it.
Okay.
The best thing is he might actually like it and just keep it how it is.
Best case scenario, he loves it.
Yeah. Worst case scenario.
You know what he has as his custom setting?
What?
So he has his name, Smiley the fired factor now.
Yeah.
But his what he's doing
could be a member of game.
Yeah, it could be a member of game, but is it because he's just too damn sexy?
No.
Oh, I love it. By the way,
That's
anybody,
awesome.
if you made it this far in the podcast, thank you very much. Join our Discord. Come hang out with us.
Yeah,
We're stupid.
if you type in ! Discord, it won't work, so don't.
What?
It won't work.
Yes, it won't work.
It's a Twitch reference.
Oh, okay. I didn't
On
get
Twitch,
that
you
at
can
all.
type !Discord on most streams, and then it brings you a link to join their Discord.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we not going to say goodbye?
Do we have to?
I guess not.
Okay, bye.
Bye.